Ayanokoji Kiyotaka understood people better than anyone in that school. He also had no idea what it felt like to actually be with one. And if you've ever confused understanding someone with being close to them, this video already knows something about you. There's a skill you've been quietly developing for years: reading people. You notice the hesitation before someone speaks. You catch the word they chose instead of the one they meant. You feel the shift in a room before anyone else registers it. You know, often within minutes, what someone needs, what they fear, what performance they're running. And for a long time, this felt like closeness. It felt like you were more connected than other people, more present, more genuinely attuned. But somewhere, without announcement, something changed. Understanding became a substitute for connecting. You started to know what someone would say before they said it. You started to anticipate the conversation, started arriving at conclusions about people before the interaction had space to surprise you. And surprise is not a small thing. Surprise is the mechanism through which someone becomes real to you. When you can predict everything, you stop encountering the person. You encounter your model of them, accurate, detailed, sophisticated, and completely empty of them. Ayanokoji built the most precise model of human behavior in that school, and he was the loneliest person in it. Ayanokoji's relationship with people was never casual. From the beginning, from the White Room, from years inside a system designed to extract maximum human performance, he was trained to understand people the way an engineer understands a system: inputs, outputs, pressure points, predictable failure modes. He learned to read motivation the way others learn to read text, fluently, automatically, without effort and without the ability to turn it off. And here is the thing about a skill you cannot turn off: it changes the nature of every experience it touches. Ayanokoji could not meet someone without simultaneously analyzing them, could not have a conversation without tracking its architecture, could not feel warmth from another person without, somewhere in parallel, processing why they were expressing it and what it was designed, consciously or not, to produce. This is not cruelty. It was not chosen. It was the only way he knew to be in a room with other humans. His internal logic was clean and terrible. If I understand what someone wants from me, I can decide what to give them. If I know their pattern, I cannot be caught off guard. If I map the dynamic before it maps me. Ayanokoji's relationship with people was never casual. From the beginning, from the White Room, from years inside a system designed to extract maximum human performance, he was trained to understand people the way an engineer understands a system: inputs, outputs, pressure points, predictable failure modes. He learned to read motivation the way others learn to read text, fluently, automatically, without effort and without the ability to turn it off. And here is the thing about a skill you cannot turn off: it changes the nature of every experience it touches. Ayanokoji could not meet someone without simultaneously analyzing them, could not have a conversation without tracking its architecture, could not feel warmth from another person without, somewhere in parallel, processing why they were expressing it and what it was designed, consciously or not, to produce. This is not cruelty. It was not chosen. It was the only way he knew to be in a room with other humans. His internal logic was clean and terrible. If I understand what someone wants from me, I can decide what to give them. If I know their pattern, I cannot be caught off guard. If I map the dynamic before it maps me, I remain in control. Control was safety, and safety, for someone built the way he was built, was the only thing that mattered more than connection. So he chose it, every time. Not dramatically, not with conflict, just quietly, consistently, the way you maintain a habit so old you've forgotten you're doing it. The pattern compounds in a direction that's easy to miss, because from the outside, Ayanokoji looked increasingly capable of connection as the story progressed. He engaged more, he chose relationships, he allowed certain people to remain close. He even, in the way available to him, cared. But watch what didn't change: the structure. Every relationship still passed through the same internal filter. Every person was still, at some level, a variable. The caring was real, but it was processed caring, felt and then immediately categorized, managed, positioned within his larger understanding of the situation. Nothing landed raw. Nothing hit him before he'd had a chance to contextualize it. And that is the specific loss that no one names in conversations about emotional intelligence. The loss of being hit by something before you understand it. The loss of confusion, of not knowing what this person means to you yet, of feelings that arrive without explanation and stay without resolution. These experiences, messy, unprocessed, temporarily disorienting, are not weaknesses. They are the texture of actual intimacy. Ayanokoji had filed every version of that texture into a category before it could reach him. He became, over time, not someone who didn't feel, but someone who processed feeling so efficiently that the feeling never quite accumulated into anything that could change him. And without the capacity to be changed by someone, you cannot truly be with them.
Here is what Ayanokoji's pattern is actually pointing at. Understanding and intimacy are not the same direction. In fact, past a certain point, they run against each other. Intimacy requires not knowing. It requires the sustained experience of encountering someone as genuinely other, as a person whose interior you cannot fully access, whose next move you cannot reliably predict, whose reality lands in yours without being fully explainable. That gap, the irreducible gap between you and another person, is not a problem to solve. It is the space where connection actually lives. When you close it completely through understanding, you don't achieve closeness. You achieve something that resembles closeness from the outside, while being structurally incapable of producing it. Because you're no longer relating to the person, you're relating to your knowledge of them. A map is not the territory. A perfect map, accurately depicting every road and building and contour, is still not the place. You cannot live in a map, and you cannot be loved by one. Ayanokoji had the most accurate maps of everyone around him, and he was, in the deepest sense, unreachable by all of them. Not because they didn't try, because his understanding had quietly replaced the space where being reached would have happened. Let me get specific with you now. You read people well, probably very well, and I want to ask you something about what happens right after you've figured someone out. Does your interest in them hold, or does something quietly shift? Not dislike, not withdrawal exactly, but a subtle reduction in curiosity, a sense of having solved the problem, even if you'd never frame it that way. Think about conversations where you already knew where it was going. Did you stay fully present, or did part of you check out while the surface of you kept performing engagement? Think about the last time someone surprised you, not with information, with themselves. said something that reorganized how you understood them, did something that your read of them hadn't accounted for. How long ago was that?
And here's the deeper question underneath all of this. Have you been using understanding as a reason to stop being curious? Because curiosity requires not knowing, and not knowing requires tolerating the discomfort of someone being genuinely unpredictable to you, of not having the answer about them yet, of being in process rather than in conclusion. That tolerance is not a given. It has to be chosen. And the smarter you are, the faster you close the loop, the harder that choice becomes. Because every time you figure someone out, the habit of figuring people out gets stronger. Until eventually, you're in a room full of people you understand completely, and you have never felt more alone. Ayanokoji looked at the people around him and saw their entire structure. He saw everything except what it would have felt like to be genuinely lost in them. There's a version of closeness that looks like understanding. It is detailed, it is accurate, it is by every measurable standard correct. And it leaves you untouched. Because to be touched by someone, you have to let them land before you've categorized them. You have to let the feeling exist before the analysis. Just for a moment, just long enough to be changed by it. Ayanokoji understood everyone, and no one ever really reached him. Not because they weren't enough, because understanding had quietly taken the place of letting them in. The question is not whether you understand people. The question is whether you still let yourself be surprised by them, or whether understanding has become the wall you live behind, that you built believing it was a window.